Have an update on a story we first brought you in February. That's when Macon District Attorney Anita Reynolds Howard called a news conference.
The reason to announce her office released 63 inmates' cases from the Bibb County Jail.
The category kind of is who was released from Bibb County LEC, but some of those individuals were guilty pleas. They actually, because of their sentence, would go to the Department of Corrections. Some are out on bond. Some cases were evaluated and the cases were dismissed. As I said, some folks end up going to Central State.
Her office later clarified in a news release that those cases were disposed of, not released. The district attorney said they disposed of these 63 cases after a careful review of hundreds of inmate files.
But who were those inmates? How were they chosen? And what happened to their charges? Ashlyn Webb set out to verify the answers to those questions.
Since that news conference more than 4 months ago, we filed several records requests with Howard's office trying to answer those questions. But repeated attempts to get answers to what we originally thought were simple questions led us to a bigger one. Did the DA have records of the 63 cases that she told us about at that February 25th press conference? Our sources for this story include responses to open records requests from the DA's office and from Cindy Adams, the Chief of Personnel, Policy, and Programming at the Macon District Attorney's Office. On February 25th, newly elected Macon Judicial Circuit District Attorney Anita Reynolds Howard called a news conference. She wanted to tell the community that despite the courts being closed because of the pandemic, her office was still working. Her headline, they disposed of 63 cases.
We've been meeting with the judges. We've been meeting with probation, again, to try to move the wheels of justice as swiftly as we can, but being cautious because we are in the midst of a pandemic.
But in that news conference, Howard would not answer questions about the inmates, their charges, or provide breakdown of what happened to each case. In the following weeks, we tried to get answers through open records requests and received several explanations from the DA's office on why they could not provide us the information. They included HIPAA, the law that protects your medical records, and pending prosecution, even though the office says the cases were disposed of. They also claimed that the Superior Court Clerk's office had the records, so they did not have to comply with our records request. Then they said we'd find our answers by comparing the January Bibb County jail population to the February population. But that gave us nearly 100 inmates. And lastly, they said they'd have to research to find who the 63 cases are. After weeks of back and forth, and only after our station lawyers had to get involved, the DA's office said they would get us those records. But because they didn't keep a list of those 63 inmates, it would cost us $2,922. Because we believe the public has the right to know how the DA's office is handling criminal justice in Bibb County, we paid $1,500 to get the work started. Well, we got back 8 of the 63 files, only 28 pages. All were petitions to revoke probation, all for felony charges. But none of those records explained why the DA's office chose these specific cases for disposition. So we asked the DA's office on camera. This is the only piece of paper that you guys ever dealt with in this whole inmate's case file?
Not their original case, obviously, but in their probation revocation, it may have been the only piece of paper because you would get further information on that by talking with the probation officer.
That's Assistant DA Cindy Adams. She and other ADAs agreed to interview with us after our $1,500 bought us few answers. DA Anita Howard would not answer questions, so Adams explained how the staff came up with the number of disposed cases.
I think literally you can just, they were asked to go through the list, and if you could take care of a case or did take care of a case, you just made note. You can make a tick mark. Now that we weren't looking for names, we weren't looking for specific dispositions. I mean, we didn't have to have the sentencing paper.
So how did the district attorney know that that number was correct that she listed off in that press conference then?
She trusts her staff to give her correct information.
If you guys say 63 cases were disposed of, and we ask, well, what were the 63 cases disposed of? Who were the people? And you guys can't give a list. You guys can't show anything about how that number was put together. That's sort of what we're hearing right now.
Well, no, Kyle did that through the research that he did. It's just not an easy it's a tedious process to go back and put names to dispositions from a specific list. it can be done, and he's done it.
But we verified it was not done prior to that February 25th press conference. Instead, the DA only started trying to identify what the 63 cases were after we asked for the records on the cases and paid $1,500. But we still did not get the list of the inmates whose cases the DA reviewed and disposed of. To get all the files, the DA's office at 13 WMAZ would have to pay another $1,500. That's because Adams says Howard's office does not maintain the records of which prosecutors handle which cases or how they're resolved. So at this point, unless we pay at least the additional $1,500 and perhaps much more, the public won't know who those inmates were or how the DA's office disposed of those cases. Cindy Adams did say they made an effort to contact every victim associated with the disposed cases, but maintained that they did not know the names of the inmates at the time of that February press conference, only that according to their notes, there were 63. For your Verify, I'm Ashlyn Webb.
District Attorney Howard said in that February news conference that the majority of cases disposed of were nonviolent.
Of the 8 documents we received from our records request on the 63 cases, inmates released include those convicted of aggravated assault, cruelty to children, burglary, and family violence battery.